The country's gross national product shrinking by 1 point in the first quarter, igniting fears of a recession. But Joe is just shrugging off the terrible economic news.
I'm not concerned about a recession. I think what you're seeing is enormous growth in the country that was affected by everything from COVID and the COVID blockages that occurred along the way. So our Republican friends are really interested in doing something about dealing with the economic growth, and they should help us continue to lower the deficit.
All right, let me go to you, Greg. Okay.
Yes.
So we know that we're not that far from the midterms in 2022. We know they have to spin. But can President Biden honestly say that he's not worried about a recession with the numbers that we're looking at, with everybody going to the supermarket and saying, I can't buy steak anymore. Look at the price.
Yeah, apparently you weren't listening to his logic. It makes total sense. The growth is so enormous, it's actually negative, right? I think this is like a black hole. Is this like something that happens? It's just everything. It's like we just grew so fast. But this is what I think they're understanding, that Americans put their domestic agenda first, and you can't get much closer to a voter domestically than his wallet or his fridge. It's in his house, her house, their house. But this is a consequence of a Democratic Party. They chased the loudest, wokest critics on Twitter. They didn't see this vast chasm of importance, between parents who just want to feed their families or get their kids to school, and the kind of the shaven head, non-binary spirit animal who wants the Dems to cancel their debt so they can pay off their degree in finger sniffing. Yep. This is and I think that's you're seeing the opportunity cost now. I mean, we would probably be in a much better state as a country if they weren't so consumed with tearing down statues or defunding the police or no cash bail. Think about all that energy that could have been placed towards things. They forgot who Americans were, or they forgot who America was. They looked at, and it is Twitter. This is why, again, it's going back to this whole week about Elon Musk changing things, that Twitter was the engine that created this kind of bizarre obsession in the media and in Democrats to chase things that are of no interest to the American public. Just a few people that are on Twitter who don't have jobs.
That's right. And Jason, I want to go to you. I mean, you were in Congress. Nancy Pelosi over there is saying, if our Republican friends wanted to help us, they would help us reduce the deficit. You're spending all the money. Am I wrong?
Yeah, Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. She's the Speaker of the House. That's where all spending originates. I like what my former colleague, Jim Jordan, congressman out of Ohio, said. Hey, if the Biden plan is working, how come it's not working? And so real wages are down. I don't care how many times the president goes to the podium, how many times he tries to spin it. When you go to fill up your F-150 and it costs you more than $100, you're going to be mad. And the answer to this is not more government spending. And don't tell me that the key economic indicator is lowering the deficit. How about the fact that we're spending nearly 25% of our gross domestic product is spent by the federal government? 1 out of every $4 is spent by the federal government. That is fundamentally, totally wrong. And more spending is not going to make inflation better. It's going to make it worse. The Democrats don't have a plan.
Mayorkas is part of all this, is saying that, Jessica, that the Biden administration has effectively managed the border crisis despite record-breaking numbers and the surge of illegals. And this is all adding to, the fifth quarter now of these historically low numbers. All three of them, between Mayorkas, Biden, and Pelosi, are saying things that just are either dishonest or don't make sense.
Well, the economic numbers were good until this report, and even Republicans were admitting that. I mean, we were seeing numbers that were 30, 40-year highs, and people are only talking about a recession. Now, if we have, two GDP quarters of this in a row, then we would be talking about a recession. There were some good numbers to talk about. That doesn't mean that inflation wasn't top of everyone's mind, or cost of living. Like you say, if you go to the store and steak is too expensive, and then you say, my family's going to eat chicken for the next month, and then maybe there's a chicken shortage, and then you're going to have that problem. But I've always felt like being honest does not make people not want to vote for you. It doesn't. It at least makes you a person that they would want to know or that they would consider at the next election if they have to vote someone else in. And there's always been this problem, and it happens on both sides because obviously there's an extreme right and then there are moderate Republicans, where people who are in very left-leaning districts or very right-leaning districts are running campaigns that do not suit the vast majority of the country. And they're saying things that are out of step with how everyday Americans feel about it. And obviously that's going to be cut and put into as many ads as possible for the midterms. And I think Democrats are not taking advantage of the fact that A, just show some empathy about it, but then B, call out the fact that Republicans are not putting up their own plan to contrast the fact that they're saying the Democrats' plan is garbage. But what are you offering? Where's your health care plan? Where's your economic plan? We have Rick Scott's proposal. We should be running on that. That thing polls terribly. Just talk about what Rick Scott wants to do all the time, and maybe we can save some seats.
Or just talk about what Joe Biden's doing. Dana, wrap it up.
Well, the Ainsley Hayes of the Biden West Wing is Larry Summers, who was the Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton. He was the one who was saying initially, like, when Joe Biden was like, oh, everything's fine, inflation's transitory, it's not a big deal, oh, it's just a one-off thing. No, actually, this is really happening. How can you come out an hour after these numbers of the negative growth and say, we're actually seeing amazing growth? Like, where is the misinformation czar when you need her?
Okay. All
That was
right.
funny, Judge.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was good, but you
I
didn't
like
laugh.
the West Wing references. There should be one.
I didn't watch The West Wing.
How is
I'm
that
sorry.
possible?
I didn't watch a lot of things. I was busy.
She was busy.